Good Wednesday morning. Yankees lose to the Phillies. The Mets get blown out again by the Milwaukee Brewers. And I feel like we might be looking at Tom Glavine 2.0 with Max Scherzer. I don't know what the hell is going on with this guy. You had the Braves series last year at the end of the year where the division was on the line. He was terrible. You had Friday night against the Padres. He was terrible. This start yesterday, terrible. He had a couple of IL stints last year as well. He's towards the end of his career. He's making over $40 million. He had success in other places, including this division, throughout his career, winning Cy Youngs, and he's come here and been a massive disappointment. And you can't tell me otherwise. Massive. So he better turn it around this year and be the leader and the ace they need to be. Yes, it's early. Yes, it's just 6 games. I do understand all of that. But my God, anytime you get your ass kicked like that, back-to-back games, that's embarrassing. They should be embarrassed, especially with the highest payroll in baseball. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
All right, G, I'm doing all right. I would just say that for the Mets at $353 million of salary to get blasted by the Brewers the way they have the last 2 games, giving up 19 runs and not even hitting, basically, except for McNeil and Nimmo yesterday. I mean, that game was just brutal. I mean, it was brutal. It was hard to watch, even as quickly as they go by now.
Yeah.
I mean, that was bad. And then you're right about Max Scherzer. I'm just waiting for him to say, well, I need to stint on the injured list because I have some torn pectoral muscle or something. I mean, it was brutal yesterday. And you're right, $43 million. I mean, for that. And then on top of that, you know, your second highest paid player is Francisco Lindor. He's batting 111.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
And then your next, like your 5th highest paid player is Pete Alonso. He's batting like 109 or something.
Yeah, and when those guys go the wrong direction, they really go in the wrong direction. And the Scherzer thing, obviously, yesterday, not as much of a concern as the end of last year. I mean, the end of last year now spilling over into this year. And also, you know, I just... This idea that I heard, and then there's more speculation. It's not like Scherzer was making a ton of excuses, but the Carlos Carrasco, I'm not used to the pitch clock, I'm fatigued.
I don't want to hear that.
And now what I'm hearing is like, well, maybe Max Scherzer, because he's an older pitcher and he's not used to this, you know, he's not enough time in between pitches and he's going to get fatigued as an older pitcher. I mean, come on. I mean, when you pay somebody $43 million, 5 seconds or 10 seconds in between pitches, shouldn't matter all that much.
He normally pitch quick anyway.
Exactly. So I don't want to hear that as an excuse, and I don't think he was making that excuse. It's just things that, you know, when people watching the game and trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
He's got 0-2 count. You know, he's got 2 strikes on guys. Just, you know, you got to put
finish
him away.
Him off.
You can't let him hit home runs on you.
Right, back to back to back.
And that's the thing that's scary because those balls, man, just like laid right over the plate.
Yeah. No.
I mean, and you would think that most batters would be intimidated by him on the mound. And that was not the case, and it has not been the case.
No, it hasn't. And the offense is a huge problem, too. And I think, you know, looking back at last year, it was a combination. The pitching fell apart and the offense fell apart at the worst time. I do believe that the offense is going to be better, and they'll figure that out. I'm very concerned about the older pitchers at the top of this rotation because you are banking on these guys. One of them's out with a teres major. The other one yesterday gets smacked around. And when we saw him at the end of last year, he got smacked around. I mean, if those guys don't pan out at the top of the rotation, and they still very well may. I mean, there's a better chance that they do than not. But if those 2 guys don't have a dominant year, like Steve Cohen is paying them to have a dominant year to win the World Series, the Mets have no shot. No shot at all. White flag. So they better figure it out, both of them, and put together, like Verlander had last year, a Cy Young type year. And same thing with Max Scherzer, has to be a hell of a lot better.
So their projected payroll this year is $338 million. I mean, that's, you know, and then you look at the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
Then you realize that they're a small market team.
Yeah.
And you realize that they just put up 19 runs and shut your team out. I mean, man, Buck Showalter better get his ass in gear too.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I know it's 6 games in, and we don't want to overreact and everything else, but how do you not overreact, or how do you not react to 19-0 in the last 2 games?
Right. There's only a few things that happen early on, this early in a season, where you get concerned. This is one of those things.
10 and 9 runs back to back.
Right. And getting shut out too, and not scoring at all. So you want to tell me they lost a 4-3 game, bullpen blew a game, whatever. whatever, one blowout, and then you come back, maybe you lose a nail biter, but they get blown out completely in 2 of these games. And one of the games, oh, by the way, Max Scherzer is on the mound. Yes, it's concerning. Now, Buck, I don't, what's interesting to me is that the pitch clock stuff that's been going on where it doesn't seem like they have any idea what's happening. And then, also this team in back-to-back games has slept-walked through these games. That's not usually Buck ball. That's not usually what you see from this team. The Mets hadn't lost a series. It was like, until May of last year? It was like late May. They'd won every series to start the year. And obviously that's a very difficult thing to do in back-to-back years. But, I mean, this is just ugly. And this is the standard, too, by the way, that they're going to have to live up to. When you're blowing everybody else away with payroll, these things, the microscope becomes larger, the spotlight becomes hotter, and you're going to have to deal with it. And this whole team is going to have to deal with it.
Listen, Uncle Stevie's a great guy. Everybody loves him when they play for him because he writes big checks.
Yep.
But when people are not living up to those big checks, it's going to get very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get uncomfortable, especially, taking 3 out of 4 from the Marlins was great. And, they have their home opener come Thursday. They've got to win today. They've just got to win the game today. They can't come home losing 3 straight and looking listless.
Right.
And I don't want to hear about we'll be okay. Everything's going to be fine. With the injury bug that's already hit them, with the fact that 2 of their best players are null and void in the lineup, combined with the bottom of a lineup that is null and void, with the exception of Jeff McNeil.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this is. I figured they'd be a good team. I didn't think they were going to be great, especially after Edwin Diaz. And again, losing like the way that they have the last 2 games, I mean, that's got to be really concerning because you just don't go in and lose 19-0 in baseball game. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Right. I mean, back-to-back games. Yeah. No, especially this early in the season, too. Usually the pitchers have an advantage this early in the season, and it doesn't seem like that's happening. And they are going to need to go out, and I don't know if it's going to be Shohei Ohtani. Everybody's going to talk about that, where the Angels are in the season. They usually stink. But they're going to have to go out and get a major bat. If they are right there in contention, which I believe they will be, but they're going to have to go out and get a major bat. I don't think they're going to be out of it. You think they're going to be out of it come the trade deadline? There's no way. That would be hell. But no, they're going to have to upgrade the offense. And Steve Cohen said it himself with the Correa thing. We felt like there was a missing piece. It felt like we weren't complete. And then he negotiated that deal on the phone with Scott Boras, and then Correa was going to be here. And he said, this is the thing that puts us over the top. And they never were able to replace that. So the offense is going to need a major boost at some point during the trade deadline. I don't think it's going to be too late by then. I mean, this team is too good to be out of it by the trade deadline.
Your 1A ace right now stinks.
Yep.
And your 1B ace is on the injured list.
Yep. I know. It's a problem.
I don't know what else to tell you. Then you have your closer out for the season. I mean,
you also had another guy that you brought in to count on in Jose Quintana.
Yeah.
He's gone for months. Yeah. I mean, this is stuff that all teams deal with.
Yeah, I know that. But, the guys that are playing have got to play better. I mean, they just have to. I mean, Alonso and Lindor and all these guys, I mean, they got to wake up.
Yeah. I mean, it's Francisco Lindor he had a very, very good season last year. He's another guy who's just the contract is just going to be a weight on his shoulders. And you just can't, both those guys can't be this bad at the same time. You just can't. It's not possible. I mean, if you want to tell me that Lindor's going through a 1 for 19, fine. But that means that Pete Alonso's got to be hitting some home runs. And you just can't disappear like this. Nimmo's been great, McNeil's been great, and those guys' bats are going to travel. They're going to be fine no matter what. But these other guys, it's almost like the conversation we had with the Yankees sometimes with Alonso and Lindor. It's almost like an all or nothing situation with them. And not so much home runs, but just hitting. So it's, yeah.
I say the last 2 days have been really disappointing.
Annoying. Yeah, right.
I mean, really disappointing. I mean, to the point where you turn it on and it's it's the same thing over and over and over again for 2 games in a row. I mean, if they don't win today and they get slammed around again today.
Yeah, I don't.
And then tomorrow is opening day.
Yeah, you got, Corbin Burns and David Peterson.
Yeah.
Today. Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be somebody along the line. Oh, Peterson pitched good last time.
He did.
Out.
Yeah, he did.
And, so did Tyler McGill. So a couple guys, did their jobs, and they're the lesser paid guys.
That's true. Now, I mean, you have this conversation too, like what's overreacting too early and what is real when you're talking about the baseball season. And I don't believe that being upset, being disappointed, and having concerns about Verlander and Scherzer is overreacting at all. Now, maybe Alonso and Lindor, they'll figure it out. They've been good offensive players to great offensive players.
The back of the baseball card.
Right, the whole back of the baseball card thing,
on,
the
man.
old baseball reference, old fan graph situation. So they'll be able to figure it out. But the top of this rotation now with the best closer out as well, and the fact that you're dipping into McGill and Peterson already because Verlander's on the IL and Quintana's gone for months, it's not a great start.
Do you already have a meeting or no? No. You don't like if you're Buck Showalter, do you sit in there and you go, hey guys?
No.
You do know that we're paying you guys $325 million, whatever it is. Yeah. Let's get our heads out of our collective asses and let's start playing like we're being paid to play.
Yeah, I think it's a little early for that.
You do.
I
don't.
Well, I mean, Buck, though, I heard one of his cuts last night about how, what is it, just 6 games? Like, they're not a big deal, whatever. So I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to keep the even keel. Now, if they get swept on their way home to opening day, on a getaway day today, it's a day game, and they get killed again, then yes, maybe. But I don't think now.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm not. You can't stand for this. I mean, it's one thing, like I said, losing 2-1, 3-1, like you said. Maybe the bullpen blows a game late in the game, whatever. It's another thing to get just absolutely trounced.
2 games.
I mean, are you kidding me? It's like unwatchable.
No, it was. I mean, I tapped out of these games midway through both times. It actually took to the 6th for Scherzer really to blow up.
For those people that are, wanted to see Beatty instead of Escobar, Beatty's hurt again.
Yeah, I know.
Hurt his thumb again.
I know.
I mean, he has a chance to get his ass up here, and he's hurt again.
I mean, these injuries. I mean, it feels like it feels like there's more injuries in baseball than in football. It almost feels like that.
Hey, can I say something, a little
positive?
Bit of good news? Yes.
Yeah,
because this is like driving me crazy.
Go ahead.
The Knicks got the 5th seed.
Yes, they did. They're locked in.
Hey, they have a better record than the Nets. Who would have thought that before the season started? I mean, are you kidding me? This is and obviously they're going to play the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are locked into the 4th seed. So they'll have until about April 15th now. So we're looking at about 10 days.
Yep.
So I wonder what the status of Julius Randle is for them.
Well, they said 2 weeks, and then they're going to reevaluate. So that was right around the start of the season that we heard that. So, I mean, the start of the playoffs, that number is going to be with 2 weeks. So I don't know. I just know that Donovan Mitchell's had 4 straight 40-point games.
Yeah.
So
how about Luka Doncic basically saying, "Man, I really miss Jalen Brunson." That was awesome.
Yep.
That was, to me, was like one of the quotes of the year.
Well, I mean, I think the Knicks struck at perfect timing with Jalen Brunson. Absolutely.
Can you believe
perfect.
You just said that?
Yeah, I mean, I can. And he was asked, they were trying to get it out of, are you surprised with what's going on with the Mavericks? They asked Jalen Brunson that the other day, and he did not take the bait.
Just say, hey, man, that's not my team anymore. My team is right here in New York, and he's been everything that's been advertised. The Knicks finally got one right. Well, they actually got Josh Hart right, too, I think.
Yeah, no, they did.
And I think they got Mitchell Robinson right for the most part where they picked him. I think they got, listen, R.J. Barrett, you can say whatever you want. He's been I wouldn't say consistent, but at least he shows up and plays.
Sure.
And, Emmanuel quickly has developed into something nice. He has been kind of an electric type of player that has just brought the energy every single game. He's had some games where he hasn't shot well and he's somewhat inconsistent. But, man, wouldn't it be nice to be able to take down Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Right, of course it would. And it would be equally as disappointing if Donovan Mitchell went off and went crazy and then beat the Knicks, because then you just would have thought what could have been if you paired Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell together.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, did they really have everything that Utah wanted?
Well, they did, but Utah, I believe that Danny Ainge, well, first of all, he hates the Knicks to begin with.
100%.
And then also, he didn't want to send Donovan Mitchell to the team he wanted to go to, because then he felt like Donovan Mitchell won.
Well, you would think that like an ex-player like Danny Ainge would have done right by his guy.
Yeah, but he's a guy that probably hates the fact that these guys force themselves out, and he's probably old school mentality when he played, probably hates that. So a win for him was, I'm not going to send him to the Knicks, a team I hate. And on top of it, I look like a fool because Donovan Mitchell wanted to go there, and I granted him that wish. I got to show a little bit of power here. I got to show some stones here. So I do think the Knicks could have gotten him, but it would have been for a much larger haul than what Cleveland gave up. And who knows what the team really would have looked like. But, I mean, Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell together, you fill in the pieces. I mean, I think that's pretty damn good. And you get him away from Cleveland. So maybe they would have been the 4 seed. Maybe they would have had an easy run.
Maybe they would have been the 3 seed.
It might. Well, yeah. I mean, the Sixers can be pretty good.
It's kind of amazing. They play Boston tough.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They don't play Milwaukee very well. But I will say that, man, it's just the last couple games it's actually been fun to watch.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to get ready for some playoffs. April 15th is the latest I think it can start. April 14th, I think, is a possibility as well for them as we watch the play-in tournament start. But think about that. Jalen Brunson, ends up leaving the Mavericks, goes to the Knicks. Kyrie Irving leaves the Nets, goes to the Mavericks. They completely tank, and Luka Doncic is pining for the days of Jalen Brunson.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's just
what
awesome.
We need the Mavericks to win, though.
Yeah, I know. It affects the pick and everything else. Yeah,
the draft pick that the Knicks have. So
I know. So
somehow the Mavericks have got to win and get into this playoff.
Yeah, and it doesn't. And they might even. It does not look good.
Did they
for
just shut it down and they just quit?
It seems like it. Yeah, and Mark Cuban basically said that's an option too at this point. Just shutting those guys down and keeping them healthy.
And by the way, Mark Cuban made this move, to get Kyrie Irving, and he's like a star in Shark Tank. You should get fired from Shark Tank for this kind of decision. Thanks so much for watching the video.
Please like and subscribe.
And don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified when we're dropping new content.